Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning special transmission on Kashmir Solidarity Day on 5th of February 2021. My name is Shahzad Hassan Khan and with me I have Shiza Hashmi. Hello Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Shahzad, for asking. Ladies and gentlemen, like Shahzad already mentioned, today happens to be Kashmir Solidarity Day. But along with that, it's also Friday. So, Jummah Mubarak. It's a tradition. We'll love to remember you. You're everyone who watches our show in our prayers. So, please, you do the same as well. But this time, we have a special request.
Exactly.
When you do remember Shahzad Khan and myself in your prayers, please take out a moment and specially dedicate it to all our Kashmiri brethren who have been fighting the struggle for the right to self-determination and for the right to freedom or independence for that matter has been going on for so many years, more than 70 years now. So please, on this day especially, do take a moment out to pray for them from your heart. I mean, purely. I really hope it matters, inshallah.
Exactly, and it's truly important as well, ladies and gentlemen, because whenever we are over here on television and speaking about Solidarity Day, I think that it would be so hard to actually find any single Pakistani who might not be around or who might not have the same passion as we do have for our Kashmiri brethren as well. But to be very honest, ladies and gentlemen, that all of those draconian laws given, or all of those things which I think that all of these things bother us as humans as well. We're very lucky that we have joined by human rights activists over here in the studios with us as well. But I think that we really need to speak about the history of 5th of February or Kashmir Solidarity Day, where in the first place in 1990, it was advised by the then Chief Minister, Mohammad Nawaz Sharif as well, and then, coming down where it was the government of the Pakistan People's Party and Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto Sahiba was the then Prime Minister, and then from there onwards, we actually started observing this Solidarity Day. But ladies and gentlemen, I think that the most important question today over here is, why do we observe this Solidarity Day? What is the kind of impact we're going to have? What is the kind of message we're giving to all of those international audiences out there as well? I think that that's the most important question which needs to be asked today, tomorrow, and every single day after tomorrow as well.
And that is absolutely very rightly put, Shahzad. And I feel like, especially this very cause of a separate or a free Kashmiri homeland is so deeply instilled in us, especially as Pakistanis, because I remember even in the earliest age of our education, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in our primary schools, in our, secondary for that matter, in our exams or our daily tests, we are definitely asked our opinion about, first of all, what we feel about Kashmiris. Then we learn the history, of course, and then we are asked for solutions. I mean, imagine the kids of Pakistan, such a young and feeble mind, at that age, they are actually made to understand what their brothers are going through, and then they're asked of what they want to do for them. And I tell you that, and I speak on behalf of the entire Pakistani nation, we stand with you politically, diplomatically, emotionally, and morally as well, of course.
Physically as well,
Definitely so. It's not just the politicians, it's each and every single one of us. And Shahzad, in 2021, I was going to say 2020, but imagine it's 2021 already. And after so many years, imagine we're still talking about an imperial nation which just likes to extend its atrocities over some innocent people.
Exactly.
I mean, isn't that age so far beyond? We just really thought we're over the colonial times, but I don't think we really are. This is neo-colonialism. We need to talk about it. We need to question all the atrocities along with all the illegal actions and occupation going on in the valley. Shahzad.
Exactly, and not just that, Shiza, I think I'm going to take everybody back in time as well. We're on 5th of August in 2019. The special status was revoked by
Yes.
India as well. And ladies and gentlemen, imagine the kind of life people might have over there. Just
I
when the
can't.
special status were taken away, for all of those people who were going to schools, universities or colleges, were not actually able to go out anywhere. In fact, they were out there and they were protesting, and 4,100 people, including 170 political figures, were actually detained. Imagine the kind of atrocities that actually taking place over there. We have seen in the past, there were pellet guns attack as well, and they have very different laws in place for all of those Kashmiri people as well. And now, eventually they've given right for other people to move to Kashmir, probably own land as well. And there's several other problems which we need to discuss today. But we're going to make sure that we actually take a journey where we're going to talk about the youngsters of Kashmir, ladies and gentlemen,
Definitely.
because it is really hard for them to see a future for themselves and for their families. And I've shared this example multiple times that I have a friend who's actually happens to be from Kashmir as well, and his father, just right after, the special status was taken away, he was pushed, in fact, from the family, from Kashmir. So his father said that, this is the amount of money which I've saved for you, son, just go somewhere and please don't come back. Imagine if a parent actually has to say this to their son or to their daughter. It is very hard for them. We urge the international community to please come together so that we find a solution which is viable for Kashmiri people, and where we actually ask them the kind of solution they want for themselves. I think that's the need of the hour as well. But right now, since we're going to talk about the youngsters of Kashmiri people, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a dedication to share and to give away because of the courage they have actually displayed. Please go ahead, take a listen. When you guys will come back, we will introduce our guests and let's see what they have to say about the human rights violation going on in that region of Kashmir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a song dedication for everybody who was out there, who was tuned in as well. And I hope that we're trying to give away a message where everybody could come together on one platform and be vocal for their rights, be vocal for their right to self-determination, and that for all of those atrocities taking place, I think that we really need to talk about them as well, and we won't sit quiet no matter what happens.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're very thankful that we've actually been joined by some amazing young guests over here who actually truly deserve to be the voice of the youngsters of Kashmiri people. He, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be a Kashmir lobbyist. He's a human rights activist. He is Mr. Zaman Bajwa. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Wa alaikum assalam, and thanks for your kind invitation on this special day.
Thank you very much
It's
for
always a
joining us.
pleasure.
It's wonderful to have you alongside Mr. Zaman, ladies and gentlemen. We were lucky that we've actually been joined by another human rights activist, and she happens to be Maria Iqbal Tarana. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Salam. Very good morning to both of you.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's
Thank
wonderful to
you.
have you. Alongside Miss Maria, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually been joined by the gentleman whose song we actually played. He is Mr. Zuhaib Zaman. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us. And last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to represent the Youth Parliament of Pakistan as well. He is Engineer Tabish Abbasi Sahab. Assalamu alaikum, Abbasi Sahab. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so Shahzad, if I may please
Sure.
begin the conversation. Starting with you, Mr. Bajwa. When we're looking at the Kashmir Solidarity Day in 2021, after all these ceasefire violations, of course, illegal occupations for that matter, extrajudicial killings, so many things that probably won't even come to our mind at this point, but people are going through that. What does it mean to us now? It's been so many years.
Actually, this day is a very symbolic day, but solidarity with the people of Kashmir. But being a social activist, being a human rights activist, and being a Pakistani,
Yeah.
every day is a solidarity day with Kashmir.
Very
and
rightly
this
said.
this come from this emotion is come from the emotions of the Kashmiris. Every day they come out on the streets, they chant slogans against Indian administration for their right to self-determination, which was promised to them at United Nations. And we see that from last 73 years, this dispute is still on the agenda of United Nations.
Yes.
And India is suppressing the people by their different illegal actions. They are suppressing by damaging the eyesight of the Kashmiris by the pellet
Right.
guns. Actually, they are detained the political prisoners in the from decades. You see the example of the Asiya Andrabi and Qasim Fatu,
Yes.
Yasin Malik and other.
Mehbooba Mufti even lately as well, when she was.
These were the leaders which were the pro-India.
Yes.
Pro-India, but right
Yes.
now after the finished the Article 370, and they are actually saying that we were on wrong side.
They now are seeing the real face, right?
So they are saying the real face, and they are also speaking against the Indian administration that actually they misguided them, and
Right.
so you can see that so everyone which was the pro-India, now they are converting to the right to self-determination. Even to a few days ago, the vice president, former vice president of India,
Okay.
said that the situation of minorities in India is not good.
Imagine that.
So you can say that all these voices are just asking one thing, which is the right to self-determination of the Kashmiris, and I think they will get their right to self-determination as it was promised at United Nations. And being Pakistani, we will raise voices in the favor of Kashmiris every day.
Exactly, and that's true, and I think that we need to do that, but I think that we rather need to do something more concrete. But before we move on to that, whether what really needs to be done by the international community and how we can contribute in their fight to self-determination as well, I want to move on to Miss Maria, where, when we speak about Indian illegally occupied Kashmir, I would want to know, since the time that the special status was taken away on 5th of August in 2019, how has the situation been in that Indian illegally occupied Kashmir region?
Thank you very much, Azad. I think it has gone worse because, as you mentioned earlier, India has imposed a few draconian laws on people of Kashmir, and which gives impunity to Indian forces to kill anybody, anywhere, anytime. So, Public Safety Act and Armed Force Public Safety Act, both, and there are so many others like a TADA, POTA. These are the draconian laws which even the world doesn't know about, and it's very sad because in 21st century we talk about humanity, we talk about human rights, and we see every day the First Nations, they have been passing bills, they have been saying we will sanction those nations who are not just obeying these human rights laws. And it's very sad when you see it's a dual face of those First Nations and India as well, because we always say the world is very much impressed by India, that they are economically growing very stronger day by day. But the thing is, when you come to not only Kashmir, you come to Nagaland, you come to the other state, Manipur, you come to even, the world has witnessed what happened in 2020 last year. Only 57 people were killed the same day when Trump was there, when they passed the CAA, which was anti-Muslim and other, the anti-minority bill. So these are the things, which really makes us think, not only us, but it's a question to the first world as well. Why the dual face when it comes to Kashmiris?
Yes.
So if you look at the situation on the ground level in Indian occupied Kashmir, it's very sad because they are being going through these atrocities for such a long time. But again,
It
we
is
can say
indeed.
they are brave.
Of
It's a fight
course.
every day. But
Exactly, and they're putting up this fight for a
Fight,
longer period of
yeah.
time. I mean,
Yeah.
there've been so many heads of their family which are
Yeah.
missing within the generations as well. So I
Yeah.
think we really need to pay them rich tribute. That's very important. But now coming down to a very different perspective, because there's something which we have seen recently happening within India as well. Not recently,
Yeah.
I think whenever we're going to speak about Modi will always be known
Yeah.
as one of those people who's actually has got blood of Muslims on his hands as well. And
Butcher
not
of
just that,
Gujarat.
speaking about minorities, imagine what his and his government is actually doing to the Sikhs as well, and not just that, to the entire farmer community. And we see how the riots are taking place over there.
Yeah.
So is this person like really insane? Because he's not making any sense at all, and that's how the world is taking it now.
Of course, of course. Mr. Modi was being known as a butcher of Gujarat
Yeah.
in 2001. If you remember correctly, he was being banned actually in US as well. And so many times British visa was also being denied, and he was being discussed in European Parliament as well.
But that was also his ladder to winning the elections later on.
Yeah, later on, I think there was a false promises, which I must say, because it's a role of First Nations as well to get the person
Yeah.
who they want actually to create some sort of disturbance in the region, because we live in a very important region, South Asia,
That's
4
true.
billion people, and there are so many other nations as well, like China, like Russia, because they wanted a competitor
Yeah.
against these China and Russia and the other growing nations as well.
Right.
So it's always some sort of a strategic regional games is being going on, and the common person is failed to understand like why they are suffering. So what we need to understand at this point, actually in 21st century, we have to educate people correctly.
Absolutely.
Because until and unless we won't educate them correctly about the human rights situation and about their region and the economic, the race, you can say, which is the dilemma of 21st century at the
Yeah.
moment. So until and unless we won't raise our voices, I think not only Kashmiris, not only the Muslims in India, but the whole region will suffer.
Definitely, and that is, Maya, very nicely put as well, and actually it does encapsulate the essence of the entire situation too. But Shazad, when you talk about the youth is rebellious generally as well, right? And when the youth is supposed to grow up in a situation or in an area which is illegally occupied, first of all, where every other day they do come across or just come to hear about some of the draconian laws that Maria, you were also mentioning, I think it does become a sort of, well, it is a little too extra to take as well. And when the cause becomes so close to your heart that you have to save, of course, your homeland first of all, but then your family as well, then your sisters, your mothers, or even your brothers for that matter, because youngsters are even picked up in the time of daylight from their homes as well, right? So moving on to you, Mr. Abbasi, we've been looking at this struggle for so long now. But the sad part is, in case of Burhan Wani in 2016 or others for that matter, the struggle is given a bad name from India or, from similar regions for that matter. Don't you think that will actually deter their resolve or actually put them in a position where they don't even feel like struggling anymore?
We have to consider all the factors before concluding this one.
Yes.
Question you asked. After Pakistan being in the grey list in FATF, we are nearly bound
Yeah.
to disown them, because armed struggle has been like a war on terror started since 2001.
Okay.
Any sort of armed struggle is considered to be terrorism, mainly
Yes.
in our South Asian region.
Okay.
So our government was under a lot of pressure since Musharraf era.
Okay.
Either we have to be with Americans or against Americans.
Okay.
So since 2001 we were bound.
All
So
right.
let's not do that.
Yeah, just moving on. I feel like just to clear the sentiment over here as well, also to you, Mr. Abbasi, and I think this is what you wanted to put across as well. When we talk about, because we are talking about the youth of Kashmir and their struggle as well, we can only, of course, speak for them. We cannot associate with them in a way that they went through. We look at it, but they are going through it. It's a different thing. So when we talk about Mujahideen, for that matter, Mr. Abbasi wanted to say that Burhan Wani, Mujahideen, Mujahid is someone who fights for a cause, right? Jihad. Burhan Wani did that jihad. And what Mr. Abbasi means to say is all the youth of Kashmir is actually doing that jihad for a long time, will try to do that, and Pakistan will definitely stand beside them as well. Always, always. And inshallah, we really hope that the struggle has to end as well.
One thing,
Yeah, sure.
actually, we have lost families and we know how much they have suffered. And it's been so many years, 7 decades, we have not seen any of them, but in a living in a .com era, now we have come to know how many of them we have actually lost.
Can you imagine that?
Yes, and you know, in 2016, after Burhan Wani, actually, I was the first one who stood up against all the governments, because I said, why our governments are so quiet, even in Azad Kashmir. And I had 26 consecutive Fridays protest for Burhan Wani. I made sure that people must come out, support the cause of Kashmiri youth, and later the government recognized that place where I had consecutive 26 Fridays protest. That was being known as a Burhan Wani Chowk now in Muzaffarabad.
That is, mashallah, amazing. And Maria, I tell you what, it's people like you, or it's the way you take these things forward, that we still actually, you know, the cause of Kashmir or the struggle is actually resonating within Pakistan as well. But now, coming to the international forum, or the international arena for that matter, yes, you know, Mr. Bajwa, we talked about this. We do celebrate that finally it has been, the topic is taken up on international fora. You know, we talk about United Nations, the chapter has reopened. It's a good thing. But the resolutions were passed back in 49, and it's been so many years again. I do not expect something from the international community, although it's being talked about. I'll tell you why. Because Muslim nations are opening embassies for Israel in their countries. I mean, whatever happened to the cause of Palestine, right? So it won't take a minute for them to actually forget about the cause of Kashmir too. So what do you first of all say about the responsibility of the international arena in this matter?
If you take, it's my opinion, my personal opinion, I do think that these resolutions are as well appropriate as well it was in the 1950, because if you see this Kashmir and Solidarity Day, the Kashmir issue is alive due to these resolutions. And it's a propaganda of India to lobby for that these resolutions are time lasted and it's a bilateral issue. No. If you see on the United Nations agenda, there was 2 reports in 2018 and 2019.
Yes, such detail.
And these reports, these were not the simple reports, very well you can rehearsed and articulated. And in these reports, the Office of the Human Rights Commissioner mentioned that India is involved in the systematic illegal occupation of Indian occupied Kashmir.
Definitely.
And it is against the wishes. It is against the wishes of Kashmiris and as well the international human rights.
Okay.
So if you there's a lot of other issues between India and Pakistan. You can see the example of Junagadh and Hyderabad. Whereas these issues, because they was not on the agenda of United Nations. So Kashmir is still alive due to these resolutions and the resilience of the Kashmiris. They didn't forget their cause for a single day, for a single minute. As you see that even 2 days before, Antonio Guterres gave a statement and he said that India and Pakistan must sit on the table and talk about the situation of Kashmir. And
the Secretary General must also do something. No, he only says. Can he actually enforce? Now this is.
I think all they can do is say.
No, but I absolutely sorry. I think I'm going to take the discussion away. But I think you all can pitch in this as well. When you talk about the UN and we talk about the main powers as well, this is where the veto comes in. Or this is where actually their entire agenda of creating the main 5 powers comes in, because there's no power that lies with the Secretary General. Exactly. He can generate a discussion, he can generate a discourse, but what can he do about it?
Shiza, if you see the situation of Kashmir, there the situation is changing now.
Okay.
If you go back to in 2019 when the 370 article was removed and India, China put take this matter into the United Nations, there was no veto, no one from the P5 veto that. Actually the France, he becomes silent.
Yes.
In past, he gave a vote against Pakistan, but this time he was silent.
Exactly.
And so situation is changed. Even the Angela Merkel, When she was in a meeting with
German
Modi, she shows his concerns about the human rights atrocities in Indian occupied Kashmir. Even in a bilateral meeting of European Union,
Yeah.
they mention about the situation of human rights in Kashmir.
Right.
Not even that, even the Vice President of America, USA,
Kamala
Miss Harris,
Harris, yes.
when she was in Congress, she showed his concern about the
Yeah.
situation of Kashmir, and she said that India is doing wrong in Kashmir. Actually, the reason is that the freedom movements and the goal of freedom didn't achieved in a single day.
It is never,
It
yeah,
take time.
it
It
takes
take time.
time.
But right now, Kashmiris are on the right directions. The Kashmir issue is internationalized. You see that every day there is reports, Physicians for the Human Rights, Doctors for Without Borders, even Kashmir was discussing the European Union, and few days back in the British Parliament.
Yes, but
Exactly,
you know
and
what my question be? Sorry, just a small comment, though
yeah,
you don't
sure.
have to answer it. But when you talk about it's a brilliant thing, it's internationalized, and about time so as well. But when you talk about all these reports coming out or people seeing the situation firsthand as well, what would you say to the military observers group being attacked? Isn't that supposed to be from a neutral party? And when you go to a valley which is illegally occupied, you don't even have the right to report there as a journalist or to
Exactly.
just observe there as a group from the Organization of United Nations itself. Hold on to that thought, and you actually raised a very good point where you're talking about, the new vice president highlighting the issue. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot talk about a struggle of freedom, sorry, without discussing the world order and where that issue stands in the world order. So because, of course, the world order is slightly tilting as well because the new president came in for the US, and US-Pak and US-India relations are actually something very material in this. We need to talk about that, but after a very short break. Before we do go out on a short break, I want our guest, Mr. Zaman over here, to actually sing us one of his other patriotic songs, if you may,
Zuhaib
please.
Zaman.
Zuhaib
Zuhaib
Zaman, yes,
Zaman,
please.
yes.
Oh ho ho, oh, ah, खुदा से मन्नत है मेरी ओ लौटा दे जन्नत वो मेरी खुदा से मन्नत है मेरी लौटा दे जन्नत वो मेरी वो अमन वो चमन का नज़ारा वो अमन वो चमन का नज़ारा ओ खुदाया लौटा दे कश्मीर दोबारा ओ खुदाया लौटा दे कश्मीर दोबारा मेरे अमन की तस्वीर मेरा कश्मीर ओ खुदाया लौटा दे कश्मीर दोबारा. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, and thank you very much. I think that you've actually given out a very strong and a wonderful message as well, where it actually involves the prayer as well, which is very important, ladies and gentlemen. We are actually heading out towards a short break. Very sorry. But once we're going to come back, I think there's one more question which needs to be asked. I'm sorry for this one, but now imagine that, once the power has been seized by the military in Myanmar, all of a sudden Joe Biden is there and he's like that we're going to actually make sure that there are going to be sanctions on Myanmar as well. Imagine the world has seen that, that the Indian illegally occupied Kashmir is there, there's no rights given to them. Imagine it's just a blackout for all of those people. But hey, do we have any sanctions on India? That's the question which we need to ask. We're going for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Welcome back to Well This Morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the special transmission on the 5th of February, Kashmir Solidarity Day. We as Pakistanis, ever since 1947, and for the days to come as well, we do stand by our Kashmiri brethren in
We will
their
always.
struggle to independence as well. We will always, although we really do hope the struggle does end soon and they actually get to live a life of, well, complete independence and self-determination as well.
You know, all of a sudden we see that, you know, that there's military dictatorship in Myanmar, and Joe Biden comes on TV and says that there will be sanctions imposed on Myanmar. So, you know, for a region which has been illegally occupied by the Indian forces, why do you think there are no sanctions so far, no matter what happens? What is the kind of message which is going across by the United States, for that matter, as well? Because I think for a country like United States, we truly think that they would rather do justice rather than just doing things in their favor or in the favor of all of their accomplices.
And that is, I think, a very good question as well when you do talk about this. So I think I'm going to throw it to Mr. Tabish over here and then move on with you guys as well. What do you think this holds for, let's say, the future relations of US-India, first of all? And then do we expect something similar that has happened to Aung San Suu Kyi for, well, holding out a genocide? Do we expect something similar to happen with Modi?
Maybe sooner or later. we are going
Inshallah.
to see same thing.
Right.
As it's not about Muslims only now in India.
Yeah, it's
It's
all
about
minorities.
Sikhs, it's about all minorities, including in some areas Hindus also.
Okay.
We saw Delhi riots where Hindu students were on the roads
Yeah.
against Modi.
Yeah.
We always read about Mr. Hitler, and we are the generation.
Now we're seeing it.
We're seeing it.
Yes.
And secondly, you asked about US-India relations.
Yeah.
I think so. India is a huge market when it's come about new colonialism, about economy.
Yeah.
And we saw clear change in attitude of some of our Muslim countries also, just because of their markets in India.
Absolutely.
Being youth representative, I am still hopeful. And being Kashmiri, we always consider Pakistan as our elder brother and liar on international forums. And it's never too late. We can hope same. And I still believe there is always end-to-end story, and history repeats itself.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
saw an end to Hitler
True.
suicide.
But now coming back to Zaman Bajwa Sahab, now when we speak about Kashmiri's fight to self-determination, when we speak about special status being taken away, and we knew for sure that there was no internet services, there are no phones, there are no mails, even the newscasters or the people who are journalists cannot even write. So I don't think that there's any right given to people on that particular piece of land which is illegally occupied by the Indian forces as well. What should be the way forward? How do you think that the international community can really voice their concerns as well? That finally, we come down to a point where we actually say that, okay, whatever you guys want for yourselves, let's do that. Let's do a referendum.
First of all, you have to read the mindset of the aggressors. There are three things which are done, then you can occupy a land. First of all, you have to block the education. Second is the economy, and third is the detract the youth. India is doing all these things. If you talk about the communication blackout, after the 370, there is a from last more than 1 year there is a communication blackout, and now this time in the pandemic situation, students are not able to go to the schools. So actually 2,800 schools from the Schools Association of Kashmir went to the Indian Supreme Court to block just open the 4G.
Exactly.
So it's and other things that I talk about the economy. If you India now is banning the production of the Pashmina shawls in Kashmir. Actually, these Pashmina shawls were made by the hairs of the sheep and the deer from Ladakh region. Now this time Indian administration is actually saying the sheep owners that you have to sell these hairs to the traders of the Ludhiana, not the Kashmiris. Actually, because if you know about the term of the half widows, the majority of the half widows were involved in this in this occupation because they don't know about the future of their husbands. So to get the peace of mind, they just involve them in the burning of the pashminas. Now, to disturb the economy of the Kashmir, they are just banning these pashmina shawls. Sir, and if you talk about the youth, they are closing all the doors of the jobs on the Kashmiris.
Exactly.
They are silencing them by the pellets, bullets, and illegal detentions. So if you all see, and even or if there is another settlement of the Israel type settlement in Kashmir by the demographic changes.
Yeah.
If in future sometime they come to the referendum, they at that moment the demographic changes will be favor in India.
Of course, that is the
Of course.
purpose of it.
So if you see all these sets, so my mindset, this is that just delay the right to self-determination resolution,
Right.
and slowly and gradually occupy all these territories.
Exactly.
And that is very rightly said, Mr. Pasha, although we really do hope that doesn't happen as well. But moving on to Ms. Mario over here, you know, we love to talk about human rights. The last century, academicians and scholars for that matter dedicated the entire century to develop a course about human rights and human rights law for what we don't know, because it's never put in practice. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because in IHL, when we talk about the occupation, first of all, I don't know for what reasons, but it talks about occupation, which means that it is implying that occupation is allowed still in 2021. But when it does talk about occupation, it bans the occupying forces from changing the demographics of the occupant area. I don't know if these are the right words. That is done. So first rule is broken. And then it also, sort of in some words or another, the law also allows the people of the area which is occupied that if they live in fear and if there are forces deployed over there, they are allowed to carry arms for their protection and self-defense. These two things are happening over there, but with a very wrong direction to it as well. So I want you to address first of all the changing demographics, and when we talk about the law being broken, then why is the international community silent?
Yeah, when we talk about demographic changes, I think it favors India.
Of course.
And the policymakers have not just started working on the demographic changes now. If you remember correctly, Amarnath Shrine incident happened in 2008.
Okay.
And that summer, I think more than 100 young people of Kashmir died. In 2010 again. And the uprising was, again, the world has witnessed in 2016. So all these uprisings had only, the base was, the cause was, please, demographically, don't change the Kashmir. And, not only demographically, I think India has been trying to change the whole dynamics, the political, cultural dynamics of Kashmir. Now they have started working on this, the Kashmiri language, Kosha. Script was Persian for the centuries, but now they are trying to change it for the Sanskrit.
Oh.
A few weeks back, we heard this, some celebrity came from Delhi and they announced while sitting in Srinagar that the Bazwan, which is the cuisine of, very famous cuisine of Kashmir is, they said, we will make it vegetarian. So, the Kashmiris, they know what the culture, their everything is. And as Zaman just mentioned about the Pashmina and Shahtus, that was something, which actually generating revenue for the India as well.
Absolutely.
Because the artisans of Kashmir had a contribution to make India greater.
Exactly.
And now what they have been doing, they are just depriving artisans of Kashmir as well. So there's so many things that have been going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
such a sad thing because these are some of the things that you mentioned, of course, and it was probably last month when the curfew in the illegal Indian occupied Kashmir was very fresh. Some people were actually tweeting of how their apple production was spoiled. Apples
Exactly.
were poisoned.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Entire orchards were ruined. How
Ruined, yeah.
unfortunate is that?
And not just that, imagine, ladies and gentlemen, that right at the beginning of the program, we said that today we actually wanted to talk about the youngsters of Kashmir as well. So, while the special status is being taken away, anybody from India can actually come to the Indian illegally occupied Kashmir and buy a piece of land, probably apply for different jobs as well, and taking away all of those rights which the Kashmiri people, or whatever the rights were left behind after all of these atrocities were taking place. But very quickly towards the end, I will move on to Engineer Saab over here. So if you can wrap up, and what will be your message today to the international audiences who are out there and people who can probably bring about a change in the lives of the people of Indian illegally occupied Kashmir?
You talked about youth, how we can talk about their futures when they are not even allowed to go for education,
Exactly.
for business, and even the most hypocrite step that we saw in last few years, the students that were studying abroad, either they are not allowed to go back to their home,
Exactly.
either if they are in illegally Indian occupied Kashmir, they are not allowed to go back to their educational institutes abroad.
Indeed.
We have seen an example in medical colleges in AJK where students are from that part of Kashmir.
Exactly.
So for world the message is clear that no, for not a long time there can be fascism of Modi,
Exactly.
which world can survive, because it's not about Kashmir. We can see similar in other parts of India maybe.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the world, the human rights activist champions like America, like UK and many other champions who are UN. My main focus would be on UN and Amnesty, who want world to be peaceful. So let's come forward.
And
You
let's
have
do it
to
together.
decide
Let's join
either
hands and
it's
let's do it
women
together.
Yeah.
or its economy.
Exactly.
They have to decide, and it's final time. It's now or never situation.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us. It was wonderful to have you all on this special day, and we hope that, ladies and gentlemen, we did play our part. But yes, obviously, even we are not satisfied with the kind of roles we are playing right now. I think we really need a substantial solution for the people of Indian illegally occupied Kashmir. And no matter what happens, till the last breath, till the last drop of our blood, we will continue to raise our voice, and we will make sure that we will get them what they truly deserve.
Absolutely, and I just feel like our Kashmir policy needs to be coherent and consistent throughout any period that we're going through, so that inshallah, I mean, within no time, we may be able to achieve what we want for Kashmir as well. That is, of course, first of all, the right to self-determination, then, of course, the kind of freedom that they want, or the kind of part they want to be with. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that you might have any questions or feedback, so you can actually write us on our Facebook page with the name of
World This Morning.
On Twitter.
World This Morning without a G.
on YouTube.
World This Morning.
And the repeat of this one you may catch
5
at
past midnight, ladies and gentlemen. Till the next time, look after yourselves and remember all our Kashmiri brethren and all of us in your prayers as well, since it's Jummah today. Look after yourselves. Jummah Mubarak. Allah Hafiz. Good morning.
Take care.